Okay, welcome to another class on advanced idioms and phrasal verbs. This is class number 36, and I think this is chapters 46 and 47 of the Advanced Idioms and Phrasal Verbs book by Stuart Redmond and Ruth Gaines. So lots of phrasal verbs today. We've got dwell on something. Now, when you dwell on something, it's when you think about some kind of problem or difficulty you're having. And to me, it sounds negative. Yeah, we often say don't dwell on things, or maybe you've split up with your girlfriend and you keep dwelling on it, and it means you keep thinking about it and it's painful to you. So perhaps you should stop dwelling on these things. Okay, so to dwell on something, to think about some kind of problem, or maybe it's an obsession and you think about it too much, you dwell on it. So don't dwell on things, don't dwell on the negative. If you put somebody down, you insult them or criticize them, yeah? Insult them, criticize them, offend them. I mean, insult is the best word here, I think, because I think of somebody saying nasty things to you, like saying you're fat, you're ugly, you're stupid. That means you're putting somebody down, you're putting that person down, you're insulting them. Now, if you slip up, you make a mistake. I can think of a lot of rude swear words that could take the place of slip, and would also mean make some kind of mistakes, do something badly, do something wrong. And of course, slip up literally means slip, well, very similar to slip over, but like trip up, trip over, slip up, slip over. So it's normally always used metaphorically, this one, though I don't see it being used, meaning he slipped up, he slipped over very often. But if somebody slips up, they make a mistake. And you can say a slip up, meaning a mistake. So there is a noun from the phrasal verb as well. Now, we usually say that somebody jumps or leaps to conclusions, and that's when they come to conclusions much too quickly without thinking carefully about everything first, so that they can come to the right conclusion, the correct conclusion. But we often say don't jump to conclusions, meaning don't come to conclusions without thinking carefully first, because you might jump to the wrong conclusion. Yeah. Now, these three phrasal verbs, it only had this one in the book, but I want to tell you about this one and this one as well. Normally, you wait to see how things pan out. And what you mean is how things develop, how the situation will pan out, how the situation will play out. I see these two as synonyms. Yeah, meaning how the situation will develop. Let's wait and see what happens. Let's wait and see what plays out. Yeah, so very similar to the word happen as well, but sometimes you mean how the situation develops. Yeah, and you often wait to see how things pan out or how things play out, and that's how we usually use these two. This one is related, turn out, but I think it's much more common. Yeah, you very often see it turns out that, yeah, in the end, this was the result. It turns out that, yeah, I thought he was French, but it turns out that he's German. Yeah, you use that all the time for lots of different situations, and we couldn't use pan out or play out there. I want to make that clear, that these two are not as common as turn out. We certainly couldn't say it panned out. Oh, it played out he was German. We wouldn't use it that often. We'd say it turned out he was German. So we don't often say it panned out that, it played out that. But they're basically the same meaning as this one. So remember to use this one with the word it, yeah? It turns out that. You see that all the time. That one's very common. Yeah, meaning, it actually, I mean, I think this is actually similar to actually, in fact. Okay, if you bury your head in the sand, this is a very visual idiom. Yeah, you can imagine that bird that's supposed to bury its head in the sand. I think it does. And the idea is that you are pretending that none of the fuss, none of the bother, none of the scandal is going on. You're ignoring all of the things that are going on around you. You are burying your head in the sand. So you normally say it as a criticism. When you say that somebody is burying their head in the sand, you're criticizing them because they seem to be ignoring everything that's going on around them. Okay, so remember that idiom. That's a good one, and very visual, very easy to remember. Now, if you face up to your problems, it's usually your problems that you face up to. face up to your problems, that means you decide to accept them and deal with them. So maybe you decide, okay, I have got some kind of problem with eating chocolate. Perhaps I should cut down on sugar. You're facing up to your problem. You're accepting it and dealing with it. Compare this with stand up to somebody, like stand up to a bully. Yeah, I think that works very well. Stand up to a bully, and that means you stop letting them bully you and you decide to stand up for yourself. And you decide to defend yourself and say, no, I'm not going to let you push me around and bully me. So you stand up to a bully, but you stand up for somebody. Maybe you stand up for a friend who is being bullied. Yeah, and that means you try to defend that friend from the bully. So always remember, stand up to your enemies, basically, but stand up for your friends. Okay, let's go on to run through. I am running through Advanced Idioms and Phrasal Verbs, chapter 46. Yeah, I am running through the vocabulary. I'm running through all the new idioms and phrasal verbs. So go through and run through both mean explain briefly. Yeah, I am briefly explaining each of these phrasal verbs. But something also runs through your mind. You can say, a thought ran through my mind, or the idea ran through my mind. Something like that. It's got to be a thought or an idea that suddenly runs through your mind. Yeah, so the thought ran through my mind that, yeah, that will work. The thought ran through my mind. So we'd have to change that to ran. Yeah, the thought ran through my mind that, yeah, and it just means I thought that. Okay, if you see somebody or something in a good light, you see all the pluses about that thing. If you see somebody or something in a bad light, you only see the negative points, the bad parts of that person or of that thing. So, I mean, really, when you see somebody in a good light, you're being very hopeful and optimistic about it. You're only choosing the very best things from that person, and you're ignoring all the bad qualities. But the same on the opposite, the same for bad light. If you see somebody in a bad light, you don't notice any of the good points about the character. Yeah, you only ever see the bad things about that character or about that idea, that theory, that book. Yeah, it could be anything. This one's very common, so please use it a lot. Now, live up to collocates well with expectations. Yeah, the hotel didn't live up to my expectations. But come up to collocates well with standards. The hotel didn't come up to my high standards. But notice that they're very similar, but they just